You're listening to Grindhouse Courthouse. We put movies on trial to determine whether or not a film has committed too many movie misdemeanors to be considered viewable. Please rise for the honorable judge of this episode.
Okay, before we go around to give our first impressions and jump into the movie.
Out of here.
Steph's making a guest appearance. How many of you have actually watched a Bollywood movie? Because this would be considered my first, but I also don't know if this is actually like a true tale Bollywood movie. This felt just like a action movie to the max. Also, this feels like it set the bar very, very high if it was.
Well, it's only the best Bollywood movie ever if we're judging it by box office revenue, which is the only way to judge a movie, which is why Avatar is the greatest movie that's ever released, and it has the biggest cultural footprint of anything in ever. It's the best. Yeah. It's the best movie ever. Just like Baahubali is.
Space Pocahontas.
No one's disagreeing with you there, Matthew.
My parents are very excited for Avatar 2, 3, and 4 coming out next year.
They're all coming out next year?
I think so. James Cameron's just throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks for everybody.
All right, let's talk more about Avatar. This is now an Avatar podcast.
This is new Avatar.
I actually have seen other Bollywood movies than this one, and I think this one has a lot more action in it than other Bollywood movies I've seen. But it does have like the characteristic. This movie feels like some huge like action epic featuring The Rock or something, plus 12 Days of Our Lives episodes. Because there's a lot more of that in other Bollywood movies I've seen before. It's like a lot of like quick zoom in things on like dramatic dialogue, and there's a lot of pauses in between it, and then it's also like 4 or 5 hours long, and there's a bunch of weird music numbers in between there that don't make a lot of sense. So
It's an action movie. It's an action movie, a soap opera, and you're missing a key ingredient, which is a hair commercial. It's also a hair commercial.
That flowing hair, goddamn. The wind in every scene, just bouncing
We'll get to this. Bouncing
that hair around. Dave, Tom, have you seen a Bollywood movie before? And like in comparison to Baahubali?
I don't know if I have seen any other. This might be my true first.
Okay, we're in the same boat then. We're in the same boat because
I've definitely never seen a Bollywood movie before. It was an experience. I'm a changed man. I will never go back to regular Hollywood. It's only the B movies from now on for me.
Beautiful.
All right, so should we set some ground rules before we get really into discussing this movie? Since we've mentioned that very few of us have seen any Bollywood movies at all, we need to set some ground rules. Number 1. Don't get canceled. Don't say anything offensive. Don't say anything culturally insensitive or offensive or anything at all. We're just going to cut it right out. Number 2, that include a subset of number 1, no accents, unless it's really funny, and then go for it. But then we'll see if it's really funny, and then we'll cut it in post.
Okay, I will do an accent, but only in the English version of a character's voice, namely the fucking guy with the mustache. I have to do that guy's voice. I won't do the Indian version of that. I'll just do the standard American English version because he's got a hilarious voice. And I bet you he's got a hilarious Indian voice in, I think this took me a while. What language is this? This is not Hindi. This is not the dominant language.
Different versions. You can watch
3 different translations.
Okay, I watched the original because their mouths synced up to the words.
It might have been Tamil.
I think it's Tamil.
Yes,
the southern
that's what I read.
dialect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, those are fair rules.
See, listeners, we're culturally sensitive. You dumb idiots. You can't even cancel us now because we looked that up.
We looked at it. We know what the languages are called. We didn't just say Indian.
But like the reason why we did this, the reason why we watched this movie is because we wanted to branch out. So moving away from our typical North American action films, we've now dived into Indian action films. So we're stepping out of our comfort zone. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. So, but in Grindhouse Courthouse fashion, we immediately watched the sequel, not the first one. So
yeah, I guess we should mention that too.
Only because there wasn't a third
This is
one.
Baahubali 2, the conclusion, as opposed to Baahubali 1, the beginning, which I fucking love the way. I love the way. What? No?
This is the prequel and the sequel. We saw the start, we missed the middle chunk, and we saw the very end.
Oh shit, we might have watched different movies.
No. Yeah, if you put this in chronological order, yeah, we've watched the beginning, not the middle, and then we watched the very end, because I think Baahubali
That's how they split these two movies up.
Yeah.
You know how in the last 30 minutes, suddenly they jump ahead 25 years and then
Yes.
just have a big battle right at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a bunch of stuff in the middle there. That's the first movie.
Yeah.
That's all movie one.
Wait, but before that, we have Bahubali's death. Spoilers. We have Bahubali's death.
For a movie that's been out for 4 years.
Yes, so we follow his father, and then he dies. And then
Yeah.
movie one's all about his son, which is
The
him
first
at the
movie's
very
about
end.
his son. Okay, so
Yes.
Okay. We need a synopsis breakdown by somebody here who knows way more than me.
The confusion was probably because it's played by the same actor, I believe.
Yeah.
So the father and son are the same person, which is
No, I figured
just
that out in the
great.
movie. It wasn't that.
Okay.
Okay, so we have two Bahubalis. We have Amarendra Bahubali, the father, and we have Mahendra Bahubali, the son,
Yes.
played by the same actor. So there
We're
is
probably
some
going to refer to
confusion.
the same person all the way through this. It's just going to be Baahubali.
Well, they're
For us.
essentially the
Senior and
same
junior.
character. Yeah, senior and junior, but it's not like the guy played a different part or he like had a different approach to how he's playing the character when he was the father or son. It's the same guy. They just gave him a different facial hairstyle, and that's about it.
Well, he's Hercules in both roles, right? He's a super strong super soldier who can super do anything,
But he's so charming.
including like make water wheels and complex engineering feats and pull down trees to like put water on kids and save a village.
We can all agree he's a demigod at this point, right?
He has to be. That's the only explanation.
That's up for debate, and we'll come back to that because
Okay.
I am unsure on that topic.
I think the only difference might be he might smirk more in the second one. I feel like in the first movie he's probably really serious and like
If
played
he's
the
a
warrior.
demigod, he's a demigod among a lot of other demigods.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
basically at the end he's matched by his cousin,
Brother.
brother.
I
the
thought it was
evil-
cousin. Oh,
I don't know.
Uncle?
Also,
don't
I
know-
can't
Well, no,
remember.
'cause-
I cannot remember the familial relations.
Yeah,
Well,
And-
he was adopted by her.
right. So he's not actually
Step uncle.
related by blood to any of these.
Yeah.
All right, we need to just do a
Okay,
very very
Just run
clear
through.
synopsis. So we begin with a lady carrying fire on her head. This
Yep.
is the Queen Mother, the Rajmata.
I think that's it.
I don't know her name. I just know her face every time someone tells her something.
yeah. It's just Queen Mother. That's what I have in my notes. That's what we're going to stick to because I am not going to try to do names because I am terrible with names.
Yeah, we'll butcher them.
But
So
before
this lady brings the soap opera to this movie. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But Dylan, before even the movie like kicks
Oh my
off with
God.
the mother doing we're doing this. Before the mother does her 30-mile walk barefoot, uninterrupted, carrying the burning pot on her head, which I don't understand the significance behind it. So someone's probably going to have to explain it to me. But
Look, if she makes that walk, then there will be great fortune and prosperity amongst the land.
Okay.
Only if she does not break her stride.
okay. Oh, that's great. But like
Can't stop, yeah.
before that, we get exposition dump with CGI characters for the intro. So it's like a 5-minute intro of these CGI characters doing action poses. You've got the music playing, and the music in this basically tells you the plot and how to feel throughout this whole movie. So if you're not picking it up on that first go, don't worry. The next song is going to tell you what you should be feeling. So we get an exposition jump of basically the first movie. Because now
Yeah.
watching
It's-
it again,
It's not even the first movie. They give you all
It's-
of the major scenes of the second movie as well. It's like
Oh, God.
it's essentially an overture. Like they have a scene of his uncle
Backstabbing.
stabbing him in the back and killing Bahubali. It has like
right.
the conclusion of the movie you're about to see is in the first 10 minutes. So you just watch the first 10 minutes and you're good. You can just like quit.
Yeah.
and
You know what? You know what's the beauty of Bollywood film is that it can just do what American action movies have to kind of subtly do, which is Bahubali, giant dick man, he'll fuck you up and your women. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Van Damme have to really work to like be like, okay, they're hot, their dicks are big, they're super strong, and they get all the chicks. Bollywood, they're just like, yeah, he fucking does that, and they sing that in the opening lines, and you're like, okay, got it, let's go.
Got it. Nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
On board. Yep.
The reason why I bring this up is because we've watched another movie that does something very similar and we all liked it. And that was Iron Mask, where they had like the clay cutouts of the white wizards, black wizards. So I found the parallels between this very nice. So let's dive in. Mother, she's walking.
Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Ain't Ain't nothing gonna slow me down. Oh no, there are some psychotic elephants.
CGI elephants, not real ones.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. The movie goes out of its way to tell you that all animals weren't harmed, which is great.
I would have never been able to tell.
But they name every animal in it. It's like
Almost.
Parrots, oxen, rabbits, cats, bats, rats, all dummies, all CGI.
And then they have this exhaustive list. I have it here. We don't need to go through the whole thing. There's like 12 animals written, and then it goes ... etc. So they could have just said all animals. But no,
they chose.
And it's also
not as impressive though.
Yeah, they needed to tell us how much care and attention they put into it.
It is also immediately obvious if you're watching it. Like it's actually bizarre. Like this overture part, the CGI is actually pretty cool. Like it looks really shiny and nice. And then other CGI parts are like it came from 2001 when they're just doing like polygons and weird animals and stuff. Like it really, some of it looks awesome and some of it looks really bad.
If you need a mental image as to how like all the elephants and real CG looks, if you've ever seen The Scorpion King, not The Scorpion King. If you've ever seen The Mummy Returns, where The Rock shows up right at the end, that's kind of the level of CG that you're looking at. So there's all these elephants and they're blocking her path and she can't complete her journey. The elephants are going to kill her. Who can save the day? Baahubali.
Baahubali.
And he uses his Hercules-like strength to make the elephants get out of the way, and then she can complete her walk.
He kicks down a door, and he's like pulling this ram, and he bashes it into the elephant, and then the next scene, so the mother walks by, all this like carnage. Next scene is like Baahubali on top of a tower pouring I don't know what onto the elephant, and that
cut that. That's insensitive. Culturally insensitive. Get it out.
No,
it's turmeric, you fucking racist.
I'm trying to read it. Oh God.
Well,
cancel alert.
That's our
cancel
podcast.
Alert.
Wow, I really thought it wasn't going to be me doing that one. Okay,
what do you think it was going to be? Which one?
I don't know. It's yellow powder that they probably use for the what's the major festival where they throw the powder, Holi or something like that. Yeah.
The elephant gets covered in this yellow mustard-like powder, and that seems to tame it. So Baahubali then gets on top of it, and the elephant picks up a giant bow,
a flaming arrow,
and they fire an arrow right into an evil statue of, I guess, a flaming arrow. Thank you, of the evil dictator of that area. So you can kind of see how Baahubali's the man that's saving the people because everybody starts cheering for him. And
wait, are we sure that's a dictator? I thought that was like an evil god. I don't think it's because the dictator would be just
what I got to.
Okay,
chief of staff at this point.
Well, there we go. Yeah, so we're just setting it up to show how awesome Baahubali is, because within those first 5 minutes, he protects his mother queen, takes down evil leadership, and saves the people, all within the first 5 minutes, and everybody just thinks he's a cool dude. He's also picking flowers with kids. There's like a slow motion shot. So you get
There's a lot of slow motion.
There's a lot of slow motion with this one. But
the best part is we don't even need all the visuals. They just sing it to us.
Oh,
Baahubali, he'll take your girl, and you'll still love him for it.
Because like after the scene, there's immediately a montage showing how badass he is. This movie is full of montages. I don't know what the over under on how many montages this thing has. It's like 7. It's like the entire movie. I don't know, depending on how you classify a montage, but it's the entire thing.
Yeah,
it gives Bloodsport a run for its money, is what it does.
So
I didn't think it was possible to cram more montages into a film like per capita, but they found a way. So after that, they all go back to the palace to live their beautiful lives, but someone isn't happy.
The evil uncle.
What exactly is his problem again?
His adopted nephew is going to become king and not his son.
Right. The queen. So the queen
That's the
mother
issue.
proclaims that Baahubali is going to be the next monarch. Essentially, she's going to hand all the power down to him, and he is adopted. And then the uncle, evil uncle, like not even like mustache twirling, doesn't really convey how evil this guy is portrayed because his mustache is also like 4 feet long, and I'm not sure if it's real and they added extensions to it or it's just.
You know who I
completely
actually
fake.
thought he was? He's not, but you know who I actually thought he was for a second? The actor. Do you remember from the movie 300 when the Persian emissary goes to King Leonidas and is like, "Our arrows will block out the sun"? I fucking thought it was that guy. He looks so much like him with that mustache. But anyway,
He does.
There's also at least 2 scenes that are identical to the arrows blocking out the sun.
there was also an Ent scene where they
yes, that's very
flood the Tower of Isengard.
Oh, don't worry. There's a lot of Lord of the Rings references in this one. I've taken a few points on this.
But so he's like he's some kind of a vizier, part of the royal family. He's got basically every sign that he's a bad guy because he's got, first off, his mustache is the Fu Manchu with no beard part, so it's just the super long mustaches. He's got a crippled arm, which we'll get back to that crippled arm. So you're like already our ableist perspectives. I think this movie is is ableist anyway. And he's fat, which is like he's the only fat guy in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, by the
Correct,
way,
yep.
Baahubali is jacked as fuck. We should talk about what he looks like in a minute. All the people are jacked as fuck. But there's this great scene because like we first meet him and he's like, "Hey, have you thought of killing your mother?" And then everyone's like, "Oh my god!" It's like this first fucking line this guy delivers.
That was like the first line from him too, hey?
And then he just gives this expedition dump of like, "She wouldn't let me be king, and because my brother became king, and then I really want my nephew to be king, but then my adopted nephew is king." So he's just pissed off in general. Anyway,
And he's drunk. He's very drunk.
and he's drunk as shit. That's also another reason he's a bad guy. He's fat, he's crippled, he's got a shitty mustache, he's drunk.
Does he punch a pillar too?
It's like the perfect contrast between what we just saw with Baahubali, saving the village, people loving him, and then you go right into the evil uncle, crippled and just kind of like this weird man. So once we've set up like our hero and our villain, the story just dives into the romance.
I do want to highlight the one hilarious line that comes out of this scene because he's upset.
Oh yeah, we got to talk
What was
about
that?
the crippled brain.
He's upset.
I forgot.
He's upset that he's not being named to the throne or whatever. And then Bahubali's, I guess his mentor figure, I don't know if he's his uncle or something, Katapa.
He's not related. He's the queen's loyal servant, the queen mother's loyal servant, but also Bahubali's friend.
Right, he's kind of yeah, he's
like a slave warrior. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he goes on all kinds of adventures with Bahubali. But he says to him, "You were denied the throne not because of your crippled hand, but because of your crippled brain."
Cue a soap opera reaction. Everyone's eyes just get really wide, and they like do like slow zoom ins on everyone's face. It's so funny.
Everybody in the room gets their own reaction shot, and that holds true throughout pretty much the entire film. If there's a character in the room, we have to know what they're thinking just based on their shocked face.
Yeah.
And then after that, they jump right into the romance. But the way they get the characters there is really stupid because they're just like, Baahubali, run off into the woods with the slave warrior, Katapa, or whatever his name is, right?
Katapa. He's a general. I just looked it up. So, by the way, they live in the kingdom of Mahishmati. And Katapa is the general of the army, and the queen mother, whose name is, oh no, I had it for a second, now I've lost it. Shit.
That's fine. Yeah.
Queen
so the way that it gets set up is that Queen Mother, now they're established in the kingdom, and she wants to find Baahubali a wife, but he decides to go travel the land. I thought with his uncle, but the general instead. So he can be like, so nobody knows his name, so he can pick like a faithful bride rather than them picking it based on his status. I'm assuming that's my guess. So
he's trying to find true love.
There we go.
He's going on the world as a normal person to find love.
But he is not a normal person.
But he's playing low.
So they start traveling the lands. They're going through all these different places. They end up at the dead marshes where they want to rehydrate, and there's just bodies floating everywhere. I'm not too sure what they were trying to establish with that, but
bandits. There are bandits in the world, and what they do is they kill the people and then they put them into the lake.
Okay.
That's their only motivation.
There's the way that they unveil it is very funny, that he just kneels down to grab a drink of water, and then all of a sudden he stands up, and then the camera just pans out wide, and they're surrounded 360 degrees by just hundreds and hundreds of bodies, as if they didn't see them until just that moment. What?
Yeah, so after that, they end up in this forested village where you get the first glimpse of the princess, right? And this is where Baahubali just like, he notices something different. He's just eyeing her up.
They're both immediately in love.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it at all.
No words are spoken. It's a lot of eye contact.
I think they call
it. Oh. But it's from a distance where he's just like checking her out. And this is where bandits come in and they start attacking the village. So the princess is fighting them off like 10 at a time, but Baahubali's standing in the background just watching her stab men and like slit their throats. It's the weirdest thing, but
becoming harder and harder.
Sometimes he doesn't kill people. Sometimes he just throws them on the ground. Sometimes he like runs them into each other.
Yeah, there's like comical element of it too. Yeah. But yeah, so the princess is doing that in the village, and then the general and Baahubali run off into the forest, which was a very weird cut. We got very confused of how they teleported, but I think it's explained by super speed later on. But they're taking on like 20 guys, and Baahubali is just like not focused. He's distracted because he's still thinking about the princess. They're like checking her out from a distance. And yeah, the one thing I want to point out with this scene was the action between him and the general was actually a lot of fun. Like they're tossing the axe around. They stab a guy, then slide that guy over to Baahubali. He leans back, he grabs axe, stabs it into some guy's head. There's a lot of blood and gore in this movie, by the way. I don't know if it's made for children, but
it was some lighthearted murder. They just needed to have fun while they were brutally killing.
Because you look at the expression,
or throwing them on the ground.
Because the expression on Baahubali's face is that, like Dale, it's just a shampoo commercial the entire time. He is so radiantly smug in every single scene that and there's also, wherever the camera is, about 2 inches to the side is at all times is a fan blowing his hair majestically. Oh, yeah. And he's just smirking at the camera the whole time.
But only his hair. Only his hair.
Yeah, just flowing.
So the action is actually kind of interesting because I never realized this, but like what we like in action movies is very culturally relative. So like what we expect to see in like an Arnold Schwarzenegger or Van Damme movie or something, and like then what you see in like Hong Kong cinema. And this is something completely different from both. I mean, there's inspirations from both, but like the one thing that I found, so first off, there's a level of like magical realism because everybody, and this is where I'm saying I'm not sure if we're supposed to think of Baahubali as like semi-divine or not, because everybody is doing it. They can jump impossibly far, so there's obviously like a shitload of like wire rigging set up, so they jump impossibly far. And when somebody gets hit, it's the fucking most epic thing, because they'll get hit, flip upside down, and like their neck will bend backwards, and they'll like drag across. Like every time someone gets hurt, you're like, that fucking injured that man. That man is hurt. Like I don't know if like the actual strikes are that like impressive, but like when people get hit, it's like they just think of the most fucking horrible looking ways for a human body to contort, and they do that. So it actually is really cool fighting scenes.
Yeah, so as this battling is like concluding, I think another thing that I liked with this scene is that the princess is very independent. Like this is the first time we actually get to see that. Like she holds her own against all these bandits.
Wait. The first time we get to see what specifically?
Her being independent and being her own person. Because while she takes on the bandits, she calls out Baahubali. It's just like, you're a coward. Everyone was fighting around here and you're standing in the back. Like you weren't doing anything. You idiot. So
why did he do that? Why can't he fight? Why does that have to be part of his stupid secret
it's
identity?
Like what Dave said, he's trying to find true love. So if he was to show off his strength, everybody would just be wooed by him.
It's because he's known throughout the country, right? As like the hero.
It's his Clark Kent persona.
Yeah.
Where he's just a bumbling idiot who can't talk to women and can't fight, but he can actually do those things very well.
He's
as we see later.
He's channeling Steve Zahn in Sahara. He's channeling that character, just like my dad collects coins. There's a weird scene where like the princess after this battle, she's like her response to him point like this simpleton that's just kind of sitting there doing nothing. Her response is to put him in the middle of the road and have a bull charge at him.
No, that's way later. That's way later.
Because
you're getting ahead of yourself. That's when she starts to suspect that he's not what
you're right.
But pretends to be.
It's just a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. That's a perfect example of this fighting style, though. It's like, oh, what's he gonna do? He just fucking is ripped, like his head crashes into a rock. It's hilarious.
Yeah, so they leave this village and they travel to Rivendell, where we get our another glimpse of the
Kuntala, I think it's called.
We get the terrible CGI of the forest. So again, like you get scenes where it looks beautiful, the CGI matches, but then you get scenes like this where I just don't know how to describe it. It looks terrible.
They spent all the money on the city part and forgot about the surrounding.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because they're going in, you get the forest, it looks awful, you see some men chasing some ox, and it lasts for probably 15 seconds. And when we did the initial viewing, we're just, what the hell's going on? Like, why are they sticking with this? But now it makes sense because they use the ox later on. But as we get into Rivendell, we have the princess shooting a bow. She's trying to learn archery, I'm assuming, and she's unable to fire two arrows.
2 arrows with one.
Yeah, she's trying to fire 2 arrows at the same time. And this is where Baahubali brings in his new BFF, the true coward in the bandit village. And he uses him to impress the princess by breaking a log with a sword. I'm not too sure why he's channeling through him, but I think this is just a way for Baahubali to get closer to the princess.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't using the general.
He's horny. He's so horny in this movie.
Yeah, he's very horny because once that happens, they have this huge, I don't know how I'm going to put this, the princess and Baahubali and his best friend go and they try to hunt boar throughout these rice crops or just cornfields. I don't know where they are. But anyway, they're shooting arrows at the boar and Bahubali's helping the guy win. And the princess is catching on. She's like, this man can't do this. Something's fishy. So this is where she decides to unleash a boar or an ox on Baahubali to see if he would just take it or die. And he gets messed up. He gets hit extremely hard. He goes flying into a tree. His head smashes on a rock, and he just starts crying or fake crying, because then it sets it up to him and the general back at the castle, and he's just like, what would really help if I had a lullaby right now from you, sweet princess.
Yeah, can we talk about how the characters have changed during this little episode? Because Katapa is this bald-headed, bearded warrior, supposed to be the greatest warrior. He becomes the stupidest slapstick, dumb uncle. He is such a dork throughout this whole scene that it is painful, because it's very clear that this guy's doesn't do this normally. So every time he smiles, you're like, you look like an idiot smiling like that.
Yeah, so
the deception is very obvious, both to the audience and you would assume the characters as well, but that's some of that Bollywood magic that I don't understand.
Yeah. So they go into I think this is the first song. This is the first dance and song number, where we have the princess singing Baahubali a lullaby, which is pretty upbeat. It's fairly catchy and fairly fun. I can't remember the lyrics.
Was it a lullaby? Was it the princess just going I want to fuck Baahubali, and Bahubali's striking a pose all the time, he's sitting in the
he's
tree,
on the tree,
and he's sitting in the bed, and he's like, oh, she wants me, and then that goes on for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that's what I remember.
Well, he fell asleep to it, so that's why I'm considering it a lullaby. Fell asleep on a palm tree, staring into the moon.
So I have to admit, I thought for sure this movie's 3 hours long, so I'm there's no fucking way I'm watching all 3 hours. I thought for sure what I'd be fast forwarding would be the Bollywood dance routines. Those actually became probably my favorite part of the movie. I watched those, and then when it was the dialogue, I'm like, holy fuck, I don't care, and then I just fast forward through that. But the dance routines actually became the best part because they were good. Obviously, these have to be maybe the best ones if it's this famous of a Bollywood story.
Oh yeah,
but also it was just interesting. I don't know.
Every dance scene had approximately 7,000 to 8,000 dancers in it.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Couldn't believe how many extras they found.
Well, that was
it's just unreal.
While we were watching it, that was the main point that you were coming across, Selmer. It's just like, look how many people they have in the background, and they're all coordinated, and the sets behind it. So I like their costumes with it. Like everything was shot so nicely. The dance numbers were fantastic. So this is just the first one that we go into, but there's a giant swan ship that we'll talk about next. But yeah, well choreographed. Yeah, well choreographed, and just like beautifully done. Again, just the way that they shot and just having that many people in it really built it up. So you kind of get like pulled in with these musical numbers, which I feel is the opposite of American action movies. Once the song comes on for the montage of just like the dude putting on guns and stuff, you're kind of like, yeah, you're going for it. But this pulls you in a completely different way. And it's also progressing the story and the relationship.
I mean, it pushed me right the fuck out of the movie. Like, I appreciate it for what it is.
So,
but like,
so Dylan, you mentioned that it's 3.5 hours long or like 4 hours long, and you didn't watch the full thing. We thought about watching this at like 1.5 speed just to see if we could do it. Just because it was way too long, but I'm happy we didn't, just because it would be chaos more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot, like they could have cut this down if they wanted to. There's a lot of unnecessary dialogue that is just repeating the same crap over and over again. There's actually, I think there's an entire subplot that they didn't need.
Which one?
When Baladeva, the brother cousin who takes the throne, convinces Kumara Varma to go and kill the king.
Right.
Oh yeah.
The king's already fucking evil. He doesn't need a pretext.
They did that. They set it up so it sounds like it's Baahubali putting in the order. But yeah,
I know. But it added a half an hour.
True.
To the movie,
yeah.
So.
It's not even like a small subplot where we're just like, we just need to put in this scene to progress the story. It's just like, we need 45 minutes of this. Going back to unnecessary moments, we dive back into the kingdom where the evil king brother cousin gets a glimpse of what the princess looks like. And I believe he wants her for himself, but the queen's just like, no, this lady's beautiful. You know what we're going to do? We're going to give her all this gold, all these treasures. We're going to convince her to marry Baahubali. And
no, she sends all of that for the
evil brother.
Evil brother.
It's also
I was not paying attention.
the way that he gets.
I'm a little confused though. At one point, how does information travel in this world?
Pigeons.
Like, this is literally within a couple of days, right?
There is no sense of time or scale in it.
Well, until they say when they do the hard cut of 25 years later.
That's the only one. But like, he's there, and then instantly his brother knows that he's interested in the princess.
That's actually a good point.
So then he wants her for himself.
Yeah.
And then like
that's where I get fucking confusing.
There's also the way that he finds out. He sees a glimpse. You mentioned that he sees a glimpse of what is the princess's name? Devasena?
Devasena.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he sees a glimpse of her in a 50-foot tall painting that's in his own palace that they unveil.
I'm pretty sure he sees a small one and then instantly gets a giant one made within 5 minutes.
Yeah, he sees a giant, like a small scroll of it, and he's like, this lady's beautiful, I need her for myself. And then when he goes to talk to the queen about it, they like unveil this 50-foot portrait of her. And it's just like, someone had to paint that. Like, how many weeks pass just to prove your point? You could just hand it over this tiny scroll, but no, it's this 50-foot portrait. It's fantastic.
There was this hilarious scene earlier where, so they're just literally the only thing they care about these princesses is how they look. I don't care what they try to claim in this movie, because like there's this scene when they're trying to find Baahubali a bride, and like the queen mother pulls out this like portrait, this little painting of a woman, which by the way, the painting is done in like 19th century Victorian style, which is really weird. Right. Like there's nothing like culturally Indian about this painting. Anyway, so they show it to him, and the mother's like, oh, look at her eyes. You can tell from her eyes that there's no, I don't even remember what she says about her eyes. Something about her eyes that they're not loving enough or something like that.
It was insanity. It's like, she's a fucking hussy. I can tell just from the glint in her eyes. And everyone's like, yeah, that sounds reasonable.
And you're like, this is a shitty picture, like a painting. How can you tell anything about her?
The queen is so interesting to me because I don't know if she's good or bad throughout this whole film, because with that, you're just like, I don't know how she's picking these women.
She's dumb through the whole film.
Yeah, that might just be the easiest way of putting it, because
she's easily misled and makes terrible decisions, and then like all of her family dies by the end of the movie. Right?
And I believe she does too. But it's just like her motive's very unclear, but you have to trust her. Like, she is a god, she speaks no lies, nothing she does is wrong, so everyone blindly has to follow her. But she does the dumbest thing, and she's influenced by Wormtongue, the evil uncle. with the little hand. But anyway, okay.
With his strong hands, yes.
Take my strong hand. So we go back to Rivendell, and that evening, after the princess gets all the treasure and stuff, she denies it. She's like, "I'm not taking this. This doesn't impress me much."
You're underselling it here. She's more like, "Bitch, I'm marrying your fucking ugly ass son." And then the queen mother, somebody has to read that to the queen mother. Your royal majesty, Rajmata. Bitch.
I was gonna go into a Shania Twain song, but that's better. So she's not impressed, and I think because of that message, I don't know if it was the bandit or if it was the evil king's troops that decide.
That's the weird thing. I thought for sure the queen mother sent the army.
Okay,
That's what we
Because it
thought
was like
too.
it went right.
Okay.
They went back to back, but it wasn't.
No, it was the
They
bandit.
were just bandits.
It was just a random bandit army that happened to attack right after
Okay,
that.
because this.
Because
This is-
the bandit army is remarkably organized. The
Yeah,
word
like
bandit does not
this.
really convey how organized this whole situation is.
Yeah, I know.
Because-
And there are
But I think I know why. I
thousands
think
of
I know why.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Let's hear why.
Because if it wasn't the bandit army,
Yeah.
let's say, and part of me thinks originally it wasn't because of the way the plot structured. Part of me thinks it was just what's the kingdom called?
Mahishmati, I
King
think.
bad guy.
Mahishmati. Yeah. Okay, so I think originally it would have been the kingdom of Mahishmati because it happens right after the queen is insulted and she's like, "We're gonna get that bitch."
Yeah.
But then when Baahubali kills, I don't know, 1,000 people, those would be his own soldiers.
Yes, we'll get into that.
And the general of the army would be killing his own soldiers too.
Yeah,
so
so-
they couldn't have it that way.
So I think at when she's discussing sending the army, doesn't the brother say like, "Oh, get Baahubali to capture her," since he's already over there?
Yes.
That's why I think there's no army.
Yes,
Just
and this-
random bandit.
This brings up another.
Super well organized, thousands of bandits.
Yeah. Okay.
Multiple thousands.
I want to break this
Hey,
down because there's
bandits can be organized.
Yeah, there's 2 points that I want to bring up. This is another example of how loyal Baahubali is, where he gets that message at the very end of this battle, and it's like, you have to bring in the princess. And this is something he doesn't want to do, but he has to do it because it's the queen, it's the kingdom, so he has to follow these orders. So this is another example of why he's so loyal, and this is what's going to bring him to his downfall. But
But it's on a line though, because it's not as a prisoner,
yes, yeah.
so he doesn't fully.
Yeah, he
others.
doesn't like read between the lines. He kind of figures out where the gray area to work with all this. So anyway, this battle, I have to compare it. The only thing I can compare it to is Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings.
It's Helm's Deep.
It is
It's Helm's
Helm's Deep, shot for shot, but it's on acid or speed because it's only 15 minutes long. I tracked it the other day. Helm's Deep lasted like 45 to an hour, right? Now condense that into 15 minutes for this movie, where you have these bandits, thousands of them, just organized outside of this kingdom. And Baahubali is just like, all right, I can't do my act anymore. I have to be the hero. He swings in through windows. He gets his new BFF. But he tells him, like,
That's
"Listen, you can't
racist.
be
That's racist.
Racist.
No, it is.
It's Kumara. Kumara Varma.
Thank you.
Gives
Anyway,
him a sweet dagger.
yeah. So he gives him a sweet.
No, we got to talk about that fucking
Yeah,
scene.
well, that's-
we are not leaving that scene behind.
No, that's why I'm leading up, because he jumps through the window and he's just like, listen, you can't be a coward anymore. You have to protect these people. Here's your weapon, which is this like 2-inch dagger.
Gives him a fucking butter knife.
He flies out the window and the door just busts open and you have like 20 soldiers, 20 bandits come in, and this poor man with this tiny knife has to battle all of them. Just
But you missed the context is not just, oh, Kumara Varma has to defend himself. There's like 20 helpless women in this fucking room. And like Baahubali swings in. He's like, all right, now's the time for you to really find out if you're any good at fighting. I am willing to sacrifice these 20 women to test this hypothesis of mine. Here you go. Doesn't even give him a fucking sword. Like, there are 20 like fully armed soldiers with armor outside this door. Give him a fucking butter knife, basically. And he's like, good luck, dude. And jumps out the window and leaves. Like a hero. like a true hero.
Like a hero would. And then he gets killed. He gets slashed across the back and like should die.
Kumara
yeah,
Varma gets like fucking shit stabbed out of him, but
he's fine.
he actually manages to pull it off.
Yeah.
So he kills the soldiers that are in that room.
But then he
What a great
reveals
scene.
that he has like super strength because he like picks a guy up at his head and like tosses it into 3 soldiers. So again, like, does everybody have super strength in this movie? They just have to like unlock it through courage and saving people. but
it's dumber than that. They unlock it by being close to, or like just in proximity, even like relational proximity to Baahubali. He is the path to all demigod powers in this universe.
His aura extends and infuses his friends with power.
Or his enemies, as we'll see later.
Or his enemies,
That happens, and then we jump to Baahubali protecting the princess because she's standing in this long hallway and she's shooting these soldiers with her bow. And Baahubali just shows up and he's unleashing 3 arrows at a time. And while they're murdering like 40 bandits,
it's more than 40.
He's teaching her how to shoot, and there's this slow-mo action, eye contact, like the romance is
super
flowing.
sexy.
It's super sexual. But
no, not sexual, just sexy.
Just
very
sexy. But when you take yourself out of it, you're just like, they murdered all those men. Like those bodies are just bleeding out on the floor while they're looking at each other and doing dance moves around.
My only problem with that whole scene is that they had a never-ending quiver of arrows.
Yes,
that's my only qualm.
I know they always do.
Yeah. So it's super fantastical and romantic, but they're murdering people at the same time. So princess is taken care of. Baahubali needs to step it up, protect the full kingdom.
And now we get the ride of the Rohirrim. Fell deeds awake, now for wrath, now for ruin and the Red Dawn. Except instead of horsemen charging down the causeway, they light some cows' horns on fire and just unleash them.
Which is insane to think about, but it's fantastic at the same time. I think my mouth was
nice
open
to
the
look
whole
at.
time.
But like, how effective was it? Because basically it hit 1 or 2 guys, the entire army stopped, watched them run by, and then charged in.
Doesn't Baahubali also fall into it? And like it does like a weird rolling scene underneath them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so weird. I don't understand why they did it, because they had the scene where he just like, he's flying through the air and he gets like hit with like a rock or something. He's like, shit. And he falls into the stampede and you're like, oh, he's going to get fucked up. But he kind of just gets trampled a little bit, rolls and then just grabs 2 cows. And then
does the Iron Cross and like pulls himself up to be standing in 2. And then you see like the general from the band. It's just like, oh God, what have we done? We have 1,000 of men to take down this kingdom, but
the ride of the Rohirrim gives time for the Ents to make it up to the dam.
Exactly. So Baahubali changes his strategy. Rather than using flaming ox, he runs up to the dam. And the best part, I think, the funniest part for me was the general's there. And rather than do what Baahubali does best and just like murder someone, because there's a scene where he throws a bandit down and you see the shot of the head land on the stairs. Baahubali jumps on the dude's head/neck, kicks off, and then takes down other bandits. So rather than doing stuff like that, Baahubali decides to just like punch him a couple times and then stab his hand into like a stake, runs up this giant wall for the dam, and just unleashes the water. So you got this whole dam, this whole flood of water just flushing out all these bandits. And I think that's it. Right? Like he rides a log back to the kingdom and he saved the day. He saved everybody, basically. So again, this is Helm's Deep on steroids, and it was a fantastic 15 minutes. I think I had my mouth open the whole time and I was just blown away by this.
We also learned about his superpowers.
Yeah.
Just before he runs off to like, open up the dam or whatever else, we see that he can move at speeds exceeding the human eye. We had to go back and look at it frame by frame because he's moving so quickly.
Yeah.
That power might have come in handy later on in the movie. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Can we just break down what we know of his superpowers? Like, what does he have at this moment?
Yeah.
Super strength.
Yep.
Super romanticism.
Oh, yeah.
Super arrow shooting abilities.
Yep. True archer. Master archer.
Super speed.
Yep. I think that's it.
So he's just like really quick, really strong, and he knows how to use every weapon in the book.
Oh, super smart. He's super smart.
Super smart. Yeah.
Is he? Oh, yeah.
But here's the question. Is it super? Is any of these things super when everybody is clearly flying, basically? Like when people jump, everyone jumps the way Baahubali jumps, which is 50 feet, like flying with like wire rigging.
But
and when people punch Baahubali, he also goes like absolutely flying.
But we don't see anyone take off like a Looney Tune at that speed, because that's what happens during that scene where he's there and it's just like beep beep, and then he just flies off the screen.
True.
We don't see anyone use super speed like that. So I think he might be a step up against all those other.
Definitely a step up.
Okay, well, we'll get to that question when we get to the freaking ship. So, because I'm not so sure that you guys are right. But
it is only through through Baahubali or a connection to him that magic happens in this universe.
No, the princess has magic too, obviously.
Because
weird.
immediately after the bandits are defeated, he gets the letter being like, you need to bring this bitch back to the castle for justice. And then he's like, I know how to solve this. I will marry her right now. And everyone's like, yay, we love you, Baahubali. Get married. Including her parents, who like just met this guy. Who, I mean, I guess they'd be
They
impressed.
know him.
Yeah, they
Everyone
know
knows who he is when they actually find out who he is.
And he also just saved their village or their kingdom.
Can we talk about his revelation? Because that's a fucking epic scene.
Oh, the fire?
Yeah.
Well, keep going, Tom. Keep going, because
I want to hear about the revelation now. No,
Okay.
so and that's the thing is like magic only happens in relation to Baahubali. Once they are married, then they get on the swan ship and they're both casting magic spells and it goes up in the sky. It's like, I can show you the world. Get on my magic swan ship, and then
So this is the second song and dance number of the movie. And again, set up, beautiful set. They're on this giant ship. They have like 100 different individuals behind them, different
slaves.
dancers.
They're slaves.
Dancers behind them doing this whole number. And we get introduced into magic, which we all just lost it because we're like, what else can this movie do? Swan ship starts flying. They're going through the sky, and then they end up back at Bahubali's kingdom.
Maybe the trip was like a 3-month trip or something, and they all just had like a weird fever dream.
It could be. Time does not matter in this movie.
They all contracted scurvy, and this was their delirium. No, but we since we're already moved on, I'm going to come back and talk about the revelation of Baahubali. So Baahubali to this point had just been wearing fucking pauper's clothes, and you thought like, wow, there's a battle. You'd think he'd be a little bit more prepared. So anyway,
I forgot about this.
Finally, the princess is like, this is horseshit. There's no way you're some piece of shit, garbage, common person. You have to be somebody important. And to figure this out, she's like, who are you? And she's holding a torch, and I couldn't figure out what was about to happen, but she just whacks Baahubali right in the chest. And I thought, well, okay, that's not going to hurt him, obviously, but I'm like, what's the point of that? The point of that is it burns off all of his clothing, revealing like his brilliant armor underneath, and then this is the point where this is where we get some Lord of the Rings, because then fucking what's his name, the general, what's the general's name? Katapa gives like the full like royal title name of Baahubali there while he's smiling. It's like literally like right when they like introduce Daenerys Stormborn or something in Lord of the Rings. It's so corny, and Katapa's just standing there. This is Baahubali, Amarenda Baahubali, and like the fucking wind's blowing his hair's like getting tossed back, his clothes are burning off. So it's like very, very important reveal. Anyway, and then they get on the swan ship and perform magic.
Love magic.
Love magic. Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. So they get back to the kingdom. I don't even want to discuss this because it's the queen. The queen was just upsetting to me because again,
so the queen is still pissed because Devasena was like, bitch. And she's like, Baahubali, you capture this little trifle and you bring her back to me. And he does. And oh, by the way, Devasena ceases to be a independent, strong woman at this point. Like, just that character is done.
Yeah, it comes back, but yeah, she fully commits into Baahubali and just like his ways.
It probably comes back in the first movie.
No.
In the first movie,
it was 25 years.
Well, the first movie we're spoilers here. In the first movie, she's just locked up by the evil tyrannical brother for 25 years. She's just like a prisoner in the palace. So she isn't even.
Oh, she was in prison that entire 25 years. I thought she was like
they reference it.
And she like rallies her.
Oh,
she escapes at some point and then rallies.
We'll get to that because it was very unclear why she decided not to take her baby out and gave it to the queen. But
oh yeah.
So this is another example of Lord of the Rings because when we get back to the kingdom and Baahubali has the princess. He's like, hey, mother, I brought her. I'm super loyal. And you have the evil uncle just like spewing nonsense to the queen. And he's basically worm tongue at this moment, saying just like, she disrespected you. You need to get rid of her now. Baahubali's not having any of that. They're allowed to stay. I'm going to jump like 45 minutes where we get the princess and Baahubali getting kicked out of the kingdom because some creeper dude was trying to feel up women while they were walking.
Yeah.
And she decides to cut off his fingers, which is fine, right? But then she's on trial and it just escalates drastically because Baahubali is standing up for his woman and he's just like, listen, this man touched my wife, and just chops off his head. This is in front of thousands of people watching this trial. So he has no way of coming back for this. But he tried to like flip the script on his mother where she's like, you can't stand up for this terrible woman. She's committed the crime. And then he says something on the lines of, but I did it for love, or you would do the same thing. And it like, she's just so baffled by it that they allow it. And
her eyelids literally just roll to the back of her head at that stage. That was the symbol of surprise for this actress.
Yeah.
Always just widen your eyes more.
So after murdering this man on trial, setting his wife free, they decide to leave the kingdom and live with the peasants, live with the people. By the way, we're at the halfway point. We're at an hour and a half into this movie. And this is where we're at.
I would also like to add that his wife at one point said, hey, in front of the royal court, say, hey, you should kill the queen mother and I should be queen or whatever. Do you remember that scene too?
No.
They just gloss over that.
She says that you should be king.
Yeah. There's only one way for him to be king though, right? Is for her to die.
Yeah. So again, like this is, I want to say like this.
No, for her brother. His stepbrother to die, no?
No. Baahubali is the heir apparent up until his choice to go with Devasena. Yep. It's only at that point that the brother, adoptive brother, actual cousin, is then made king.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And he's also made king. Mm-hmm. Hand wave.
Yeah.
For a movie that's like 5 hours long, they do a remarkable amount of like yada yada off screen. Like at this point, they kind of yada yada that Devasena becomes pregnant, and also her family dies, and her kingdom gets subsumed into the larger one. So at this. I guess at this point, then Bahu and his wife get banished, and then he becomes a man of the people. He becomes this giant, like this great architect and builder and laborer. He gives them all these there's this huge montage again of him building all of these like water ducts and like a whole bunch of other stuff, and the people still love him.
He's automating all of their tedious tasks. Like, oh, you have to bring up water. Like you have to use this ladder to bring up water.
Okay.
Just bend these trees.
Why were they bringing up water? Just to dump on children, right? Because that's the only thing he solved with that invention.
I know. I was wondering, I'm like, oh, is this going to fill like a well or something? Nope. It's basically equivalent of like movies in New York when someone opens up the fire hydrant and it just like sprays kids.
So he's automating all their stuff. He's building massive engineering things to just do their job a lot faster. They're loving him. They're feeding him. And then the princess gets pregnant. I don't know like if they wanted to establish this, but it just jumps into her.
Wasn't she pregnant before? I know that the movie never showed them boinking. And that's what we all wanted to see was Baahubali boinking with the wind in his hair and
that would have been
another face.
That sex scene would have been 30 minutes.
That might have been that's kind of a feature I've seen with some Bollywood movies too, is that they don't actually show a lot of physical interaction. Like the sex scene would have taken the place of a musical number, like a 5-minute, and that's not shorthand for.
I think it did. That's probably what the boat scene was.
That's probably
right?
what it, yeah.
With his blue magic and her pink magic.
Yeah.
And all the slaves watching the whole time. Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't put it in a song. I'm just like, and they're boinking on the swan ship. But she's pregnant.
And they're boinking on the swan ship.
This goes into the Flintstones.
That was Copacabana.
Yeah.
Listen up, dude. Well, that's interesting because I wouldn't think. Well, this just reveals how little I know about like Indian culture. But like, I didn't think there would be as much like kind of like prudishness towards like sexuality in Indian because they don't have that deep shame that we in Christian society have towards our physical bodies.
Yeah, that's true.
But apparently we taught it to them during the colonial era or something. I don't know. Because there was very little, like they didn't even kiss, I don't think, did they?
I don't think so.
Ooh, she walks across him at one point. I think that's the most.
They do this. She does this, and then he does
hands.
that, like with the hands.
Yeah, so there's some physical contact. Yeah, I don't think they kissed.
He touches her stomach when she stumbles and falls.
Right.
During his Clark Kent phase.
Yeah, that's probably the most sexual thing we see from them.
And it was sexy.
Don't they like zoom up on it?
It's super highlighted. It's
weird.
Yeah,
it was
he grabs,
so sexy.
Because it's flesh on flesh, and he grabs the hip, and you're just like, ooh. Baahubali, what are you go for it? Anywho,
so I think that
wife's pregnant.
So yeah, all that stuff happens. all those things happen. Now we're on the betrayal plot.
Yes.
I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
So how does that kick
think
off? I mean, it never stops.
So
really,
the king
but-
and the uncle are pissed that the people still love Baahubali
Yeah.
because he waters children.
That's the correct verb. Yeah.
So they're like, we got to get rid of this motherfucker and his wife and his baby. And so they turn to the most gullible individual in this freaking kingdom, Queen Mother.
I can't remember how this goes. I know there's like a double cross where it's Bahubali's friend that decides to try to kill the king in the evening. And uses
Isn't
a
that
secret-
Kumara?
Kumara Varma.
Yeah.
The vizier pretends like, oh, I'm not with the king anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna try and kill Bahubali, which is actually true.
Okay.
You need to go kill the king, Kumara.
Yeah.
And Kumara's like, he's pretty stupid too. So Kumara's like, okay, I'll go do it.
I'll take
Anyway,
my
shows
tiny
up in
knife.
Yeah, it takes a tiny knife, shows up in the king's chamber, and sure enough, he's surrounded by like 40 guards and gets the living shit stabbed out of him. And that's the pretext that they use to tell the Queen Mother,
Right.
look, Bahubali's trying to kill the king. What should we do? And the Queen Mother's like, oh, it's wrong to kill my son. Kill my son.
Again, mixed motivations. I don't understand the queen in this.
But she can't do it herself, so she has to send the general.
Katapa.
Okay, yeah, he sends the general who's bound up in barbed wire.
I think this is essentially kind of a trap. I think they set him up as if he was captured by some other group of bandits. They're kind of this other group that is they're kind of like
They're featured heavily in the first movie.
I think
is what it
so.
looks like.
And like the vibe is, remember the first battle in Gladiator, like the Germanic tribe, like those guys with a bunch of barbarian looking dudes. They kind of look like that. So they have the general as if he is trapped or he's captured by them, and then Bahubali, because he feels so strongly of his relationship with the general, he goes to save him, and then it turns out to be a double cross, and then Katapa stabs him in the back and kills Bahubali.
But before that, we have Baahubali taking down like 20 of these guys and like throwing their bodies on this tree. And he's got this device already rigged up to launch the tree or like to stand it upright. So you just have this massive tree with all these dead bodies hanging from it. And then lightning strikes it and lights it on fire, but it also sends out like a blast. And the evil general of this tribal gang, whatever you want to call it, uses two of his guards as shields.
Oh, yeah.
Takes the blast and just like throws him to the side. And I don't know what happens to him. I think Baahubali kills him. But yeah,
the whole like field like instantly ignites into flame.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Like magically.
It is
covered in oil.
Yeah,
Covered in oil.
It's super
It is
dark.
beautiful, and it sets it up for Baahubali getting stabbed in the back.
And it was at this point that I realized that the opening scene, that opening little CG mantra, gave away one of the most important plot twists in this fucking movie. That Katapa betrays Bahubali. You're like, why did you show that?
But I think if we watched the first movie before the second, we would have known, and this would have built it up even more. So shame on us for not doing that, but also why would they put
That's
that
not
in?
our style. That's not Grindhouse Courthouse style.
Jump to the second or third movie and figure it out. That's how we roll. So yeah, Baahubali gets stabbed in the back by General, and rather than like lashing out against him, he basically says, take care of my mother, take care of the queen. So he's super loyal.
Which he also does not do, by the way.
Oh, God, no, not at all. So he's super loyal again. And I think the funniest thing that happens is the evil king comes up to dead Bahubali's body. And it's a 12-minute scene of just him with an axe just hacking the body and just screaming. And I don't know what they were trying to establish besides his rage and just anger towards Baahubali.
He is evil.
But yeah,
he's
he
evil.
just continues slashing this dead body. And I think the general's just watching. He's just like, what have I done?
So yeah, the general goes back to the queen, and his hands are covered in blood. And he like grabs the queen mother's hand. He's like, "Now the blood's on your hand." And then, in case the audience forgot, we had to watch another montage of the king chopping up.
Oh yeah,
again.
No.
Play it
That's
again.
not a
Literally
flashback.
5
That
minutes
king
ago.
was still chopping that body at that moment.
just screaming. It's like Patrick Bateman when he's killing the buddy in his living room with the blood splattering. It's just that for 12 minutes. It's outrageous. So yeah, you get this parallel with like Hamlet, where it's like the blood are on my hands and it goes back to the queen.
Macbeth, you
Oh
fuck.
my God, I'm so uncultured.
All right, start the episode over. Fuck.
Roll it, cut it, throw away everything that we
Did
just
anyone else
done.
get the sense that, like, even at this stage, when like all is laid bare, Katapa and the Queen Mother still still don't fully understand the ramifications of what they've done. They're kind of still at that level of like back when the princess insulted the queen. That's a level of like surprise she's showing. She's like, oh my, how dare, it's like, you've murdered your son and your evil son is going to kill you and your grandson and your daughter-in-law and probably you. And she's still got that level of surprise, like,
what?
The queen said something mean to her, or the princess said something mean to her. You're like, you need to take it up a notch here.
Yeah. No,
you're a ruler, aren't you?
Yeah.
And also, why is the army betray her? Like, why wouldn't they just, like, she clearly still has power.
They decide to betray her because then she takes the baby and says, this is your new king. So rather than the evil cousin becoming king, like flips it on him and says like, this baby,
flip mode,
Baahubali baby,
flip mode is the greatest,
is your king now. And then we get like a 20-minute scene of like her running through the castle trying to like toss off this baby, or like the princess is trying to toss off this baby to the queen to get it out of there. While the general's trying to like, I have to do my rights. Like, I know I
just chucking perfect spirals. The baby's just like flying through the air.
He can take it because he's a demigod, so it doesn't matter. But the queen gets the baby out, but gets like shot in the back from the evil king. So she's floating in a river. And this is also in the intro where she has like the hand above the water, not her head.
She's just holding the baby up.
Just the baby above the water, and she travels to a village, and then like hard cut 25 years later.
Yeah, cut. First movie happens,
hard cut.
Which none of us were expecting, because again, I don't know. I
had to rewind.
Yeah, I didn't do any research into this. So them just like tossing that in like 25 years later and expecting to know these characters, and then this battle scene just like develops. Fantastic. Like, I wish more movies would just throw the audience for a loop. Like
so here's where we get what this movie is.
Yeah.
So everything up to this point, to the betrayal of Baahubali. Well, now we need to start using first names because now it's not going to make any freaking sense.
Baahubali Jr.
Doesn't matter.
Son of Baahubali.
Amarendra Baahubali. So we've been following Amarendra Baahubali up to this point. He gets killed. The queen mother is murdered, and Mahendra Baahubali is the baby who's kind of got like the Moses - Excalibur plot line where he's just floating down the river,
the barbarian,
in his dead grandma's hand. Hard cut. The first movie, right? So the first movie takes up more or less around here, right?
Yes.
So Mahendra Baahubali is not the king. He is exiled in essence. Yep. And I think, does anyone know the plot of the first one? I have a guess what the plot is, but
it's essentially, I think so. He doesn't know that he has royal blood, or he doesn't know that he has this lineage. He just thinks he's kind of an orphaned child. But like the first movie goes through him, he still has all of these powers, and he kind of slowly builds up his place, and like he becomes a man of the people. And it's essentially just like what happens when Baahubali Senior is exiled, and he's building stuff, and he's this great engineer, and everyone loves him. So he's building up his army.
Yeah, I think it's beat for beat.
Yeah.
To the second movie, because there's even a love interest that he like convinces her through like a dance and killing bandits around her.
Yeah, I think it's like Conan the Barbarian. I think that's what it is.
Or Robin Hood. But there's a really hot woman soldier who like keeps getting zoomed in on in the battle.
She plays
the second battle scene, but you're like, we are like, who the fuck is this?
She plays a bigger part in the first movie.
I imagine she played a very important role, because to me, I'm just like, I feel like you're supposed to be important, but I don't know who you are.
And that's again, if you have no context of like that first movie and you just go into this just unaware, it just throws you for a loop, but then it just gets right into it with the battle scenes.
Yeah, so what the fuck? Did the first movie just end with the evil king still alive?
Yeah.
Like none of this shit resolved?
Yeah, the first movie ends with the gold statue coming up and like the evil king meeting Baahubali Jr. out on the battlefield, I think. It's something along those lines where like the war's ready to happen.
Can you imagine going to that movie and just being like, are you fucking serious? You're not going to show this until the next one?
And then you just sit through like 2 hours of his father before you get to that.
And this is why it's a prequel and a sequel in the same movie.
God, beautiful.
Yeah, so literally this 25 years later hits. So by the way, the Mahendra Baahubali's mother's been imprisoned this whole time.
Yeah.
You can tell because she's got gray hair and it's kind of messy. And then and then we get the end of the first movie. literally the end of the first movie with all the characters from the first movie and like all the plot development that happened there, as in not in this movie, happens. So very like this would never happen in a Hollywood movie, never be allowed.
Yeah.
But we're in Bollywood and
anything goes.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
This last battle has the same scale as like Return of the King.
Yeah.
That's the best way of putting it. So again, continuing with the Lord of the Rings parallel, this is Return of the King battle style, where Baahubali...
Which part of Return of the King did they have a bunch of guys pull down a palm tree and then link arms with shields?
No.
That's from Beverly Hills Ninja.
Right.
But you're also forgetting the...
Remember when Chris Rock and they were playing Jungle Boy? Which they also played in this movie. They played Jungle Boy in this movie while the army was launching their little circle shields. Holy fuck, can someone describe this tactic?
So, using his father's technique of get water on little children, he pulls down all the palm trees. Katapa gets a bunch of like tower shields, and then with like 8 guys, they stand on the tree, link hands so that they stay together. And then while they're flying through the air, and we're talking like thousands of feet, probably, give or take, they form a circle, a ring, so that when they crash onto
shields,
it's like a barrel of shields, and when they crash into their target or overshoot,
they're horribly injured, right, Tom? Surely when they crash upon impact, they're all horribly injured.
Oh no! See, these people have all been blessed by Baahubali. When they could just like land and like jump out of it, or they like careen for a bit and then split apart, and they're all just ready to fight. And fight they do.
You know what? I know something funny. I watched this very slowly. One of the shield barrels fucking hit the wall and just fell back. They did not make it.
We noticed that too, because we're like, not all of them are going to make this.
Some go over, some smash into like siege equipment and fucking fall down.
Long story short, they're in the walls.
But you also had the evil king come out with his lawnmower machine with all these blades. And he's just whipping through his own guys to get to the enemies, Baahubali's guys. And I think he takes down like 1 or 2, and then he just drives right back. That's it.
He steals,
they bring the gate up.
He steals...
what's her name?
Yeah, what's her face?
The princess.
The princess.
Okay, yeah, that happens then. So that's when they catapult themselves over. I don't really.
Yeah, I'm really questioning the king's strategy at this stage. It's like, sir, we're under siege by thousands of soldiers. We need to get the princess. Why? Just shut up. No, sir, don't open that door. There's thousands of soldiers outside. This is not a good tactic. I'll kill every single one of my soldiers to get this woman. Sir, they will just come in and take her back.
Their soldiers are already out front, so it doesn't even matter. I think.
Yeah, sure. Well, he's going to kill a whole bunch of his soldiers pointlessly.
An interesting part, though, when he comes back in and Baahubali is like trying to like jump through the big door, the drawbridge, and it's like raising up. You're like, oh man, he's gonna get back in there. And then one arrow, magic comes flying and just smacks him right in the chest, and he falls off.
Square in the chest.
It's like, oh,
yeah.
This like
that was a big
again,
failure.
this movie just surprises you. There's just so many points where you're just like, what? And that was one of them. I was laughing so hard at that moment because that unexpected.
So anyways, they get inside, and it's really funny, and I almost died laughing. But then they have to recreate the first scene because it's like poetry, it rhymes or something.
The new queen mother.
No, we got to talk about the fight before. We can't do the poetry part. We have to do the fight between Balala and Bahubali.
But these are happening in parallel, right?
Yeah.
So we have the fight.
Okay, they happens parallel. Okay.
And then we have,
so
all right, talk about the poetry.
They set the stakes. The new queen mother has to complete her walk, although it's over less distance, and now there's a bunch of people fighting. Mm-hmm. And Baahubali and evil brother have to settle their differences of, hey, you killed my entire family, and I don't like you, which is really,
that's it.
It's a whole thing. And that's when we learned that, we don't know really what the rules are for demigods in this universe, because the evil brother is with him lockstep, right? Like he hits as hard, if not harder. He's just as fast. He can knee drop onto your chest or whatever he does. And then,
no. Baahubali does the atomic knee drop. Baahubali does the best move in this whole freaking movie.
From the top turnbuckle, just
from the fucking top of the turnbuckle, knee drop right to the goddamn solar plex.
But he's fine. He just like shrugs it off. And it's really...
Well, he had a chest plate.
Yeah.
It's, oh yeah. So of course he's okay. It's not like, that force would be transferred through you or anything.
It's just
right?
going curves around. But it's just showing like how epic this battle is, because while they're fighting, they're like bashing into that golden tower, the base of the golden tower, and that thing's like toppling over.
Yeah, but gold's malleable.
True. So there's some heavy impacts with this, and I think like that comes into play when Baahubali Jr. wraps his fists in chains when he's doing like his recovery and he's getting his momentum back. And there's just the one scene where the evil king is like coming down with a scorpion punch above his head, coming down on Baahubali Jr., but Baahubali like counters and punches him in the bicep, and you just see that muscle just ripple. Like they slow-mo'd the slow-mo for that one shot, and it was beautiful.
I thought they were going to do a Mortal Kombat 10 like X-rays where it shows like
honestly,
arm
like if they
breaking.
did that, fine.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. But you're feeling each hit basically as this battle's going on, and the princess is walking.
Here's a question I actually want a response for. Do you think any film industry benefited more from the development of bullet time than Bollywood? Can you just imagine like Bollywood directors like watching The Matrix for the first time and they're like, this changes everything.
Stop drilling, you hit oil.
This is the greatest thing since Days of Our Lives. We're set, boys.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I was gonna say, yeah, they don't abuse it though. Like they don't overkill with the slow mo, but they do. Like any chance they have of showing Baahubali's face and just like focusing on the princess, that's all in slow mo. But the action, they have a lot of slow motion scenes.
Yeah, well, they have a lot of action, period, to the point where I just stopped caring halfway through the fight. It was
Really?
great.
What about,
yeah.
What about when Baahubali Jr. is flying through the air and there's a storm cloud and lightning strikes behind him,
man.
and you see Baahubali Sr. in the cloud that outline.
Is that who it's supposed to be?
I think so.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, because he's got the power of his father flowing through him when he's ready to put that final blow into the evil king, who is now on the fire pit.
Okay, here's a mind fuck for y'all.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's Rudra. Maybe that's the Lord Rudra with his scepter.
God.
If I
Maybe
didn't
we
see
finally
the
get to
trident,
see him.
if I didn't see the trident, wasn't him. I'm sorry.
Tried it.
Okay.
I actually thought it was a god. I thought it was like supposed to symbolize like
He's got the power
is it
of
Krishna. Who's the male warrior one? I think it's Krishna.
Well, he goes.
He's definitely got the power of God and anime.
Well, he
on
goes
his
in
side.
the
Pretty
first
much,
movie.
yeah.
I did actually read this, that he goes by Shiva in the first movie because he doesn't really know what his real name is, which is that's obviously
okay.
God. But then I think at some point there's a big dramatic reveal that he realizes what's happening, who his lineage is, and then maybe that's a little bit of it that's showing up here.
Gotcha.
Knowing these films, it probably happened.
Probably.
All right, we need to put this to bed. I'm gonna do some quick Lord Rudra research.
Yeah. So
go on.
So he delivers
so he
the
wins. Yeah.
He delivers the final blow, but he doesn't go in for the kill. I think he like pins the evil king into the fire pit, and this is where the princess drops the flaming pot that was on her head onto him. Evil king lights up, and then we have.
Oh wait, then you listen to him scream as he burns to death.
You listen to him burn for a solid 6 minutes.
Can we back up? What happens to the crippled uncle? I forget what happens to him.
He lived.
Nothing?
He's fine. I think he changes his way after he sees the golden statue come down, and he doesn't have a chance at becoming a ruler anymore.
No, there was like a scene where you thought he might die, and then he doesn't. Does he die?
The gold head comes really close to crushing him, but I don't think it does.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he just survives.
He also has like a little interaction with Kadapa, who is now old at this point, and you expect Kadapa to like stab him in the stomach or something like
Brutally
that.
murder
I
him.
expect that to happen because that's happened to about 1,000 other people in the last 6 minutes at that point. But then he doesn't. I guess he just holds him prisoner or something. I don't know but he's around at the end, like in the final like epilogue of the movie. Apart from the gold head tumbling down a waterfall with Windows 95 graphics.
Tumbling down the
Oh my God.
waterfall for
Yeah.
like 4 minutes.
While the credits are rolling, it just keeps falling.
But the evil uncle is. I don't think he really gets his comeuppance at all. He's still around at the end.
Yeah.
That's what I was curious about.
So
Can we talk about the death of the brother,
We did.
or did we already?
He got lit on fire.
yeah, he lights a fire, and then he's got his death screams where he's going. "Ah!"
Sorry, guys, I was really deep in my Rudra research at that moment.
No, but that's it. Basically Baahubali Jr. wins and saves the people, takes down the evil kingdom. Evil King and reunites the people.
Well, no, I mean, we don't know if he does. We just know that he's outstretching his arm at the end, and then director's seal of approval. Wham!
My movie.
It literally makes a stamp sound too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Took us right out of that last 5 minutes.
No, it brought me right back in. I was kind of bored and like not with it, and then I was like, oh, the movie's over. Seal of approval. You know, like Steven Spielberg at the end of Jaws. Smile, you son of a bitch. Steven Spielberg.
But yeah, that's the conclusion to.
But yeah, it's over. Then you watch the conclusion. Golden head travel down a river and break.
I guess it's like while the credits are rolling, and it's astonishing. Here's another example, like the previous battle, the last 20 minutes that we just watched. The CGI was actually pretty cool. It was pretty gnarly. There's lots of cool stuff. And then this like awful graphics that you wouldn't even see on like from a movie from, I don't know, when was their first CGI? Like it looks worse than that, of this like head. Yeah,
Tron.
It's just awful. Like bouncing around, and the physics look really bad and like strange as it's tumbling down this. I don't even, like, they could have just cut it out. I don't know why that needed to exist, but it kind of
symbolism.
It left a kind of a sour taste in my mouth.
Well, they should have ended with the stamp. You know, bold choice. Movie's over. Wham!
Okay. That's the movie.
That's it.
I just want everybody's impressions. What did you think of it? Because we just sat through like 2.5 hours of this movie. I was blown away. But how did everybody else feel about this movie?
I'm ready for the next adventure with him called Saho. It's also an hour or 175 minutes long.
Oh my God. There's a third?
No, this is like a completely different thing, but it has the same actor.
Oh, okay.
I'm on board. Yeah.
That guy's great.
I'm ready.
Yeah, that guy has so much charisma. He brought charm.
Does
he
he?
was suave. He was confident. He's a solid definition of what a hero should be. And if there's another movie with him, I think I would watch it. Yeah, I'm totally for it.
You can doubt all you want, Tom, but 1.6 billion people think he's hot as shit.
Oh
so
my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Do they?
For being like my first Bollywood movie, 2 thumbs up. It was great.
Yeah,
it was pretty fun.
Great in all the wrong reasons.
I wasn't bored. I was infuriated, but I wasn't bored.
I would recommend this if they could just cut down that runtime a bit.
Yeah.
And
okay, so I'm sure that somebody has probably put these 2 movies together in the chronological order, and if they do a hard edit of getting that down, so those 2 movies just to 3 hours, that'd be fantastic. I would be more than willing to watch that, because yeah, this one, again, I had a smile on my face for a majority of this film, just how ridiculous things were. But that last 40 minutes of the battling really sold it for me. Like, I think I had my mouth open the whole time, and I was just in awe, just with everything that was happening, the hard cut to the 25 years later, and just having no clue of the first movie. So that was fantastic.
So do you feel like we were lucky that we decided to go with the second movie instead of the first? Was that a better choice?
Yes, I would have been pissed with the ending of the first one. I would have been so pissed off with the ending of the first one.
But if you did this back to back, I think you would have got more context into Baahubali Jr. and the lady warrior that we don't know her name of. I think we would have more tied into those characters, and there would have been more of an emotional connection. So
yeah, because you would have got an extra 3 hours.
Yeah, when he was winning against the king, it would have had a higher impact rather than just a cool fight scene. So it's kind of like
don't kid yourself.
It's a hard split.
One thing I would have liked to have seen from the first one is how Katapa justifies the fact that he hasn't killed himself at this point for being such a piece of shit, for ruining the kingdom, killing his the child he mentored from infancy, causing the death of his beloved queen, and he's still just yeah, but it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, but
it wasn't me.
I'm the hero.
Fuck you, Katapa.
I was just following orders.
I was just doing what I was told.
Again, everybody is too loyal, and they're loyal to a fault, and it just is their downbringing. But
downfall. Downbringing is not a thing. No one says that.
I'm stumbling for words. I have to wrap up. That's why I'm trying to push through this right now, because I have a hard cut. So
we need Matt's input.
Yeah,
I'm like Adam here. I had fun the whole time. The action scenes are really cool. Like the choreography and all of that stuff is pretty gnarly and pretty fun and gnarly, bro. Radical. It's pretty this movie's pretty tubular. That's where I'm ending up on it.
If Baahubali screamed cowabunga when he was flying over that wall, my God, that would have been too much.
No, when he was doing his atomic knee drop.
But the only thing that actually would, like, obviously the runtime, as Dylan mentioned, is kind of a drawback. Like it's a little bit stretched out more than it needs to be. And some of the CGI is like really bad and kind of takes you out of it, which is strange. Like given I don't know if we've, like, Adam, you mentioned that you looked into the box office returns from this thing and how much money was put into it and how much money it made. Because this is the number one highest grossing Bollywood film.
Yes.
And the most expensive one ever made.
Yeah. So
how much does it cost?
So first off, the
28 million?
Yeah. The tagline for this movie is India's biggest blockbuster ever. It doesn't even relate to the movie itself. It's just saying this is a big movie. So in comparisons, I needed to do this.
Whoa. No, his next movie cost 350 krone for, I don't know how to say that.
Hold on. Because I'm gonna break this down.
Well, you better, or you're getting canceled. So figure it out.
I'm gonna break this down, and I had to do a comparison because I needed to understand the scale behind this movie of just like how big was this? Was this a mega blockbuster that was just meant to sweep the box office, or was this just a standard Indian epic action film? So the movie I compared it to was Avengers Infinity Wars. So for ratings, let's go for ratings first. Baahubali 2, 8.2 on IMDb, 86 on Rotten Tomatoes, while Avengers is 8.4 on IMDb and 85 on Rotten Tomatoes. Now the budget is kind of wishy-washy. It was hard to get actual numbers for this, but for Baahubali 2,
250.
So I have for the budget for Baahubali 2, they had 33.6 million. Avengers had 316 million, and then the box office return for Baahubali was 240 million. So they made their back tenfold, and Avengers was 2.048 billion. So a lot of money went into this film, and again, it, in comparison to a Western film, it stands the part of Avengers Infinity War. So if you want to compare these two, this is how big they were.
I don't want to compare these two.
No, that's fine.
Completely different movies.
They're very different movies, but like the outcome of them was very similar.
Yeah, and bear in mind, like those totals aren't super comparable because I imagine what $33 million gets you in India is a lot different than what it would get you in the United States, and vice versa. Bringing in $200 million in India, predominantly India. It's probably watched elsewhere, but mostly India. That probably means a lot more than what 200 million would bring you in the United States. They would be like, that's not enough money or something.
And you have to say this movie did really well.
Yes, that's the best way of summing it up. This movie did well, and people were happy.
It simultaneously deserves its success, and I wish it wasn't that successful. Anyways,
I will say, having seen what evidently is just the best Bollywood movie, and it's a good movie, even for like, because these movies are culturally relative. So like, obviously it's not going to appeal to us the same way as it appeals to an Indian person, but it still appeals to us. Mm-hmm. I will never watch another Bollywood movie though, because I know if this is the best, I can only imagine what the worst looks like. And come on, guys, we're a podcast that watches bad movies usually. So
we're watching Zaho.
Put it on the
list. I can't imagine how bad it can get. You know, again, we watch shitty Western movies, so it gets bad in the West too. But it doesn't work without that like cultural basis. So I think the worst Bollywood is so much worse for us. Yeah. So unbelievably unwatchable. So
yeah, we just don't have the context behind it.
So sorry, listeners, if you're expecting us to do like a whole bunch of apparently, except for this one that Dave's trying to force on us. But I hope this is one of the last ones. But we'll see.
We're open. But that concludes this episode of Baahubali 2, the conclusion. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you later.
And with that, the court is adjourned. Come back next time for a new trial with new litigants in the never-ending parade of schlock that is Grindhouse Courthouse. Motherfuckers.